When I arrived in this room, I thought that we would do a silent disco, but it's not the case. Together with Hans, we will give an introduction on how data can be activated in value for the business. My name is Yves Maelfait. I'm a sales executive within the data and AI team for Proximus NXT. And within my role, I have the responsibility to develop new AI and data use cases for our companies and their businesses. Yeah. I would like to start with an opening quote. Data is the new oil. And if I look to the audience, I think that most of you are thinking, yeah, Yves, but this is something we already heard in the past. And that's correct. Yeah. It's a quote who has been used in the first time by Clive Humby in 2006. Yeah. And why was it important for me to start with this quote? Because a lot of companies that we meet currently know that data is important. They know that getting value out of the data is crucial for the future of our companies. And if we look today, 2 decades after 2006, we need to recognize that most of the companies use their data for standard dashboarding. That's reality. Yeah. And when I talk with customers, they develop dashboards, reports, to have, for example, insights on their sales performance. And what is that giving as an input? Yeah, we see that in the past we had a certain sales performance. We understand why there was a dip, why there was a good sales. But we have a few or less companies who ingest, for example, data with AI or machine learning algorithms to make a next step towards advanced analytics or to allow data predicting the future. Yeah? And imagine that me as a sales guy can have access to reports which are infused with machine learning. I could calculate, for example, upfront what the impact is of a marketing campaign upon my potential sales output for the future. Yeah? And that's the point where we're currently looking in an era where AI is everywhere. We open the newspaper, we listen to the journals, and it's everything about artificial intelligence. And in this context, data is becoming very, very important. Yeah? Companies are looking to build stable data platforms. They would like to structure their data. They would like to understand how their data can give value towards artificial intelligence. And if we look towards Proximus, we already developed 150 use cases for internal usage. Yeah? And that's a proof that, for example, data enabled on artificial intelligence can bring great value towards our company. I took 3 examples. One of them is a use case where we open a tool for our engineers installing fiber. Yeah? And what are we doing? We trained a model. Yeah? At the moment that an engineer is going outside and installs a fiber, the engineer is taking a picture of his installation. He puts the picture in an algorithm, and we are doing a quality checks on 10 different parameters. At the moment that he gets a green light, he can close his installation and go to a next customer. A second use case based upon data and AI is a use case where we are capable to predict the stocks that we need for our Proximus stores. Yeah? And at the moment that Samsung or Apple, for example, launch a new mobile phone, we predict the stock to avoid overstock or understock in every shop. And why is that crucial? If we have overstock, it's something which is having a big cost for our company. If we have understock, it's a high risk to miss sales at the moment that the customer comes to our company. So this is a model which brings a value of 600K per year for Proximus, which is very important. And looking towards the third use case, we are doing analytics on historical data generated between our customers and our service desk. And what we are doing there is semantic analytics and sentiment analytics to understand why customers called our service desk, yeah? But also to understand at the moment that the customer called our service desk, were they angry, were they happy? And based upon the output of that, we train our employees to serve better our customers. Yeah? What we see in reality is that a lot of customers are doing trials with their artificial intelligence. They are starting proof of concept. And looking to my own experience and looking towards market studies, we need to recognize that a lot of companies are really struggling to get real value out of artificial intelligence. Yeah? And that's the point where Proximus Next and Microsoft comes in, thanks to the Microsoft Fabric platform. And this is the point where I will hand over the Fabric part towards Hans. Hans, before we go to the next slide, I told that the 70% of the companies are struggling with deploying good AI, but can you explain me why those companies are struggling with that?
I can explain why, and I definitely will, but first of all, also welcome from my part. It's really great to see a full room. You're not hungry? No, that's weird. But thank you for being here. Yeah, what you said is true, right? Data is the oil, and in the sense that it's the fuel to actually get the most out of these AI capabilities. But what we're seeing today is that there's a huge complexity in getting a platform up and running to support these AI use cases. If you look at the data and AI landscape today, it is massive. From left to right, all the way through the stack, it is absolutely massive. So companies, all organizations, they're struggling today to choose which solutions from which vendors they should actually start integrating with each other to build, or basically to meet the needs from their business users and everybody, everybody wants to become a data-driven organization. So how do you meet those needs? So what we're seeing today is typically something like this. We have a lot of data sources in every company, hundreds of data sources in every organization. And typically, depending on the data source or depending on who's asking access to the data source, you will have a tech team who has some freedom in selecting which vendors and which tools will be used to actually meet those needs. And so you can end up in a situation where you have vendor 1 for ingestion, vendor 2 for storage, 3 for management, data transformation, and BI is number 4. Number 5 is AI modeling. And if you're lucky, or if you're unlucky, then your next tech team working on another use case might select a different stack altogether. And I want to acknowledge that we're not making things complex on purpose, as at least most of us aren't. Some of us are, but not most of us. But this sometimes happens through acquisitions, or you have some technical debt, you have some historical reasons why you actually end up with different stacks. So, and this causes all types of problems, like you have multiple data copies, you have limited interoperability, data exposure risks, and let's not forget, this represents a certain cost in your organization. So platform agility is definitely number 1, but you also have challenges like cost predictability, especially with, for instance, these new large language models. How much is this going to cost me? How can I be predictable on that level? Does it depend on the amount of tokens and prompts that my users generate, and what does this depend? Talent and AI skilling is a big one. Data and privacy regulations will come back to that. And of course, measuring business value and return on investment is really important and a key challenge today with all of these new technologies.
Yeah. Before going further, we understood why companies are struggling with deployment of artificial intelligence. I already mentioned Microsoft Fabric, but can you explain what Microsoft Fabric is, Hans?
Absolutely. Microsoft Fabric, first of all, if you hear the name of a Microsoft product and it starts with Microsoft, like Microsoft Fabric or Microsoft Purview or Microsoft 365, that typically means that this is a SaaS product. It's an integrated platform, it's a multi-tenant platform for all types of customers. If you're hearing, if it's not a SaaS product, it would have been called Azure Fabric, for instance, then it would have been a PaaS product. But this is a SaaS product. This is a SaaS product to meet your data needs, and this is built around some core competencies. First of all, governance with Purview. Then we have OneLake, which actually stores your information or references your information in other stores. This is AI infused horizontally and vertically. You get your co-pilots, but also in the backend we have AI capabilities. And then this platform starts meeting all your needs from your data consumers, whether those data consumers want to do some data warehousing, or whether they want to build some reporting with Power BI or with other tools, whether they want to run their databases or gain insights on real-time data. All the needs are basically being met and are being served from this unified layers of Purview, OneLake, and AI.
Talking with companies, we recognize that they often have complex structures. They have a sales departments, R&D, operational, finance departments. And this is also different. Often translate also in complex data structures. How is the OneLake solution from Microsoft capable to simplify this?
Yeah, Microsoft OneLake is our answer here, and it's really a bit of a magical component of Microsoft Fabric. OneLake, its name is very similar to OneDrive, and that's also the way we are positioning it. OneLake is for data, what OneDrive is for files. That's the way you should remember it. And there's a number of things that are parallel between those two platforms. For instance, in OneDrive, I'm not sure whether you know it, but you can actually put your files in OneDrive, or you can actually reference files that are elsewhere, stored elsewhere, but you also see them in OneDrive. It's basically a link, a reference to this. This is the same here. You can actually use this as your store for your data, but you can also use it as a link to other data sources, so that you're not creating an endless amount of copies, and so that you're actually keeping very much control over your one version of the truth, because that's ultimately what you want to have in your organization. You want to have one version of the truth. And very important here is that this is an open platform, because sometimes I get the feedback from customers, yeah, if it's that integrated, isn't it then at the same time like a black box or something? No, first of all, this is an open platform. It connects to all types of data sources. Of course, in the Microsoft platforms, from Microsoft 365 over Azure, and so on and so forth, but also to other platforms such as Snowflake, for instance, or your other data sources such as SAP, and so on and so forth. So you connect to those data sources, and then you either create and store the version of the truth in OneLake, or you reference it. And what's important here is that basically OneLake stores this in a format called Delta Parquet, and this is an open source format that helps you protect the full integrity of your data. So the full atomicity. If you store your data, you want to make sure that all the transactional properties are respected and that your data is consistent at any given time. So that's basically protected by the Delta Parquet file, which is open sourced, and which also allows you to reach out to this data from other platforms, not only from the Microsoft tools such as Power BI and so forth. Now, once you have the data in there, in the OneLake, you can start organizing it in a very logical way. And we have concepts in the platform such as workspaces, domains, and subdomains, which create a logical view on your data. And this is really important, because typically what our customers do, they create this medallion structure where they go with their data from bronze over silver to a gold layer, which is the layer that they want to expose to their internal and external consumers of the data. We have all the tooling inside this platform to allow you to do that and to track things like lineage. That's a very important concept. If you ingest data and then you make it go through various layers, you still want to keep track of where the data is originating from. And that's lineage, and that's something that's, for instance, provided in the platform. On top of it, you have metadata management and so on and so forth. But important is that you create this logical structure on top of your data, which you expose. You don't expose the actual data source, you expose this logical structure, and then you can implement a full data mesh type of approach, and you can actually start building your data as a product type of architecture within your organization. So basically what we're doing here is we're combining the best of the centralized world where you have full control over your data and the way it's structured and that it's consistent, etc. But you lose basically the flexibility towards your consumers. We combine the benefits of the centralized approach with the decentralized approach, which has downside that if everything is decentralized, you're getting many versions of the truth and you're losing control, governance issues, etc. In this federated model, we're actually combining the benefits of those, both approaches.
Talking with customers and identifying how we can get value out of the data, you already understood that having a good data platform is important. But more and more we have customers asking us, okay, how can we secure data? How can we label them, classify them? And that's the point where data governance comes in. How can Verbeeck helps on that?
Absolutely. I think data governance is basically a non-negotiable. If you cannot govern it, then don't do it. That should be as simple. And actually today I think this is hindering adoption of these AI technologies because customers are not really sure, how do I manage my data? How do I keep compliant? How do I keep my data secure? So they want to fix all of this first before they actually go to the Valhalla of AI. So everybody's putting their foot on the brake a little bit. Now, as I said, in Verbeeck, we're here to help you with addressing these risks that you're seeing. Then the risks that the risk leaders are identifying are risks on leaking sensitive data, on basically not being compliant with regulation, or not being ready for generative AI, because through generative AI your users might try to get access to data that they shouldn't have access to otherwise. So how do I track that? How do I monitor that? And so the approach could be very well be, again, I use various solutions from various vendors and I start integrating this myself, but then similar to the security world, the more vendors you introduce, the bigger the risk of also introducing new holes in your entire security layer or in your entire data security layer. And you introduce additional cost and so on and so forth. So with Purview, the bottom layer, Microsoft Purview, we have a Azure Purview and we have a Microsoft Purview. Here we're talking about Microsoft Purview. You can actually start managing all your data and you can ensure data security, data governance and data compliance. And you get tools and functionality basically to help you here with data loss prevention, all the way to a compliance manager that basically tracks your compliance with certain regulations. But you also get your catalog, your view on data quality and on your data estate health, for instance. This is a game changer, this product. This is why basically companies will start feeling secure again and confident again that they can actually start meeting the needs from all of those various parties. And again, also here, this is not a black box. Also here, we're not just taking into scope data that is in the Microsoft Fabric One Lake. We're also looking at data in Microsoft 365 and in other environments such as AWS, Google, Dropbox, Snowflakes, and you name it. So you can also start managing and controlling your data in those other platforms. When we talk about regulation, you know, we're in Europe, we love regulation. Well, at least we produce enough regulation, but we're not alone in the world. There's data and privacy types of regulations all around the world. 170 out of 194 countries have some sort of a regulation. In Europe, we have things like NIS2, DORA, the AI Act, and we're all wondering how do we stay compliant with those regulations. Well, we build in templates into Microsoft Purview that will allow you basically to assess and monitor your posture versus those regulations, and you basically get a very simple dashboard in which you can track how your assessments, the results of your assessments are, and what your next actions actually should be. So this is key. Governance should be in your platform by design, and it should be on by default. So whenever you get a new request for a new report or a new data warehouse, you shouldn't be thinking about data governance at that point. You should have it baked into the platform. This will make a huge difference, we believe.
Okay, imagine, Hans, that we centralize our data, we structured it, we put some governance on it. How is Microsoft Fabric capable to put on AI on it?
Yeah, because that's obviously also what was in the title of our session, and we're getting to that very slowly. And you cannot get to this point where you are benefiting from AI without first taking care of your data estate, of your data household. So let's talk a little bit about that, or let's show a little bit about that. So here, basically we're here in Power BI, because there are two ways that AI is integrated in the entire stack. First of all, every data professional will get a co-pilot. Whether you're working on ingestion or whether you're working on building a report, you will get a co-pilot that will make you more productive. And also in Power BI, you will get a co-pilot. And what we're seeing here was a demo that was, an actual case that was used at the Gartner Bake-Off. Gartner every year has a summit. This year it was in Barcelona a few weeks ago, and at the summit they have a BI bake-off, and they invite teams. They give them a data set, and then they ask them to produce valuable insights and a report within a specific amount of time. And as you could have seen on the screen behind me, you have a massive amount of tables with all types of information. And basically what they did is, just by chatting through the data, they found actually what are the relevant data tables, what are the relationships with them, and they were able to produce a very nice report basically in no time, and they won the competition this year. This co-pilot thing, it's real, it's definitely adding value. Of course, if you use it, sometimes it does stuff that are not really what you expect from typically a software tool, because we're coming from a world where everything needs to be perfect or it is a bug. With these large language technologies, this works a little bit different, where sometimes you need to keep interacting with a model to get the right results, but it is increasing productivity and it's producing better results for everyone. So co-pilots, as Microsoft's proposition, everybody will actually get a co-pilot to increase their productivity. But that's not all. What most of our customers actually want to do today with large language models such as ChatGPT or Gemini or the Anthropic models, you name them, you want to chat with your data. Chat with your data, or in technical terms, you want to enable retrieval augmented generation. And why do you want that? Of course, because inherently in the large language models themselves, they know nothing about your business. But you want your business users to be more productive because they get easier access to data and better insights. So what we're doing here, let me go forward here, is we're introducing something which is called an AI skill. And an AI skill allows you to create a data agent. So whatever resources that you have in your OneLake and that you're exposing through this logical structure through a workspace or a domain or a subdomain, you can browse through this and you can then basically activate these data sources or these data entities within this AI skill environment. And you can then start asking and prodding a bit around and asking questions like, in this case, we're building a sales analyst, like what are the months in which that they're basically placing the most orders. And then it will start looking through the data sources that you highlighted. And these data sources could be tables out of databases. They could be an event house, which you typically would basically approach through KQL, a custom query language, something quite specific that not everybody knows. But you can then start basically just interacting with this. Like, what is the most sold product is a question that they're asking here. The AI skill will then execute this query, and it will actually go give you the result, but also give you the KQL query. And that's really nice here, that we're not dealing with this as a black box. We're actually giving you the output and also the insights in what type of queries are being produced for you. And then final, and this is a bit the cherry on the cake, of course, you can then very easily start exposing this AI skill to the outside world. So you can expose this to your Copilot in Microsoft 365. You can expose this to your Copilot in Power BI. You can expose this as a REST API, meaning that this skill can be integrated in any application that actually understands what APIs are, and today, fortunately, most of applications do. So this opens up and this allows you to enable your data to be offered to AI interfaces and chatbots and you name it to your users wherever they are in whatever environment that they are. So this is something that's evolving quite quickly, but where we're seeing customers today, whenever they want to do this RAG or chat with your own data, where we're seeing customers today starting to think about, should I code and should I use runtimes such as LangChain or semantic kernel and a lot of these technical stuff. We're now basically hiding that away in Fabric, and you can just enable it through your data stewards. Your data professionals can actually enable it. And the beauty of it is you get your data security, you get your governance, you get that all built into the platform, because we have in Fabric, for instance, detection of what are users prompting against my data. So if somebody is trying to write a prompt to get to sensitive data to which they do not have access, this is actually logged in Purview. If they repeatedly try to do this, you can actually generate an alert for that and start taking action for that. You get all of that also when you actually start using AI skills and building your own data, your own agents. Voila. I think this is a second part where we actually would see where they're starting from a workspace and then would actually start integrating and talking to this AI skill before they will actually publish this. I will leave this recorded demo also in the slide deck, so people can look at it afterwards.
Okay, to wrap up, what do we need to remember when we leave this room? Going to AI, it's very important to create a very good data foundation, and I think that Hans showed that Fabric is really key to develop that towards your business. 2, OneLake can be seen as a single source of truth and to organize your data in a very structured way. 3, data governance by design is really crucial to become successful in developing advanced analytics and AI in the organizations. And 4, Copilot really as an assistant within Fabric to develop advanced dashboards, to chat with your data, but also to make the step towards the next steps being agentic AI. Before I leave you out of this room, I would like to reach out to welcome you at our coded stand at the left side at the entrance of the central demo room. And there we can have chats on other algorithms that we developed for other customers, for our proper organizations, but also to give you some insights on new announcements which have been done last week by Microsoft in Chicago, where you can showcase you what the new stuff is in Microsoft Fabric.
Proximus next. Think possible.